Hello everyone, this is Kirya Does Things. I'm Kirya, and today we're going to talk about the F1 Fantasy game. Today is the episode that we review the Chinese Grand Prix and that we preview the Miami Grand Prix. Both are sprints. China was a sprint weekend, and this weekend in Miami is also a sprint weekend. So let's see how well we did in China, and we managed to get 340 points, which is a new um, high score for a weekend. However, obviously, because it was a sprint, there were way more points available, so it's the average points are higher in general. But still, even if we take this into consideration, we still did very well. As you can see, as expected, once again, almost all of my points are Verstappen, 116 with all the wins and the sprint fastest laps and some overtakes, and mainly the race position and qualifying position plus 10 for qualifying position and the 25 points for the race position, and then 8 points for the sprint position and some other points as well. He had a total of 116 with the 2 times score, and then Ferrari and Red Bull scored all of the other points. 126 points for Red Bull, which is also amazing. Red Bull had all of the fast pit stops again. They did that amazing double stack at some point, 2 amazing pit stops back to back, and obviously getting all of the good positions, all of the good points. Perez did decently enough in that weekend, so Red Bull got a crazy amount of points, 126, and then Ferrari did well, good enough, with 74 points, nothing crazy, but obviously still the second best constructor by far, even if they are not getting the fastest pit stops points at this point in the season. I hope they might get 1 or 2 in the next races, but in general some decent points from them. And then we got 17 points from Mr. Reliable in F1 Fantasy, Kevin Magnussen, who again scored solidly 17 points. Most of his points were from overtakes, as you can see, sprint overtake bonus 5 points and race overtake bonus 9 points. And then 13 points from Zhou, who was there, also got some points from some overtakes. 8 points from Sargent, just because he finished both races, which is good enough. I mean, it's pretty much the maximum that you hope you get from Sargent, is to just finish both the races and not get a DNF, and that's what happened in China. And then we had Bottas, who unfortunately had the engine problem in the race, had to not to retire the car. He did not finish, and because of that I got the minus 14, which was the only problem in my overall very strong weekend in China. So 340 points more, and which means that we are keep climbing in the rankings, and I am right now 7,717th, a lot of sevens, best team, but I have not yet used any of my chips. And the interesting thing was that a lot of people used limitless for China, which was a very strong call, because the top 5 drivers, the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Ferraris, and Norris especially, all did exceptionally well, and they were the I think the 5 drivers that scored the most points. So it was an excellent idea to go for the limitless on that race. I was a little bit skeptical of it. I wasn't 100% sure, and I ended up not doing it. But we still have it in our hands to use it when we feel like it, and it might be in Miami now the chance to use it. But yeah, anyone who used it in China did incredibly incredibly well. Now, I am also 38th in Greece. I'm hoping to finish at least top 10, maybe top 5 in Greece until when it's the end of the season. I mean, that was that with China. Limitless was amazing, and we still did great though, even though we didn't use the Limitless chip. Now, let's think about Miami. Once again, I'm recording this video after the sprint quali because you can as you can see, we have 6 hours and 15 minutes for the team lock deadline, which will be 7 p.m. For me, the sprint race, and until then we can think about our strategy. Yesterday was the sprint quali where Verstappen ended up again in P1. Leclerc was second, Perez was third. Lando was looking promising for fighting for P1, ended up making a big mistake, and because in SQ3 they only did one lap, he ended up 9th, unfortunately. However, the McLaren upgrades that he has more upgrades than Piastri, and they seem to be working very well. The car is very fast, so I am considering going for limitless in this weekend, because again it seems like these three teams are the fastest teams, Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren, and I don't the next sprint races I think are in some months away, so I don't know what the pecking order is going to be pretty much when the next sprint comes about, and also I will have to use the 3-time score at some point in a sprint in the future, so I'm feeling like I have to use the limitless right now because we kind of have a decent understanding of the pecking order. Obviously, if I go limitless, I will go with these 5 drivers, definitely the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Ferraris and Norris. Norris starting 9th might be bad, but he will get some positions, some points for positions gained in the sprint race if everything goes according to plan. However, there is the risk that he may have a crash or something, and we end up with some negative points because he starts 9th. It's more likely that he takes more risks to get some decent points in the sprint race. But I don't really see any other choice. We can just again stay with the same exact team pretty much. I don't think I can really upgrade on the smaller drivers here. Albon is 7.5 and Hülkenberg is 7.6, and I only have 0.3. I may be going for one of those two instead of Zhou. I can't, and this is pretty much once again the best team I can do. Maybe switch like Tsunoda for Magnussen, but that doesn't really matter that much. Maybe Ricciardo for Magnussen, but Ricciardo is probably going to fall down the order in the sprint, so he will score less fantasy points than Magnussen, just because of that. Because if Magnussen gets like 1 or 2 positions and Ricciardo will most certainly lose some positions, he is not worth it in F1 fantasy terms. However, besides F1 fantasy, that was an amazing qualifying performance from Daniel Ricciardo, and I hope to see more of that throughout the season. Now let's get back to the F1 fantasy thing. Limitless is probably the thing to keep us in the fight with the other guys that used limitless in China, but we really have to nail this one. If I go limitless and there is even a small hiccup and we have one DNF, either in the sprint or the regular race, it might cost us extremely, to the point that we have no chance of fighting for the best places in the end of the season. But it's a risk that I should probably go for, because if I don't use limitless now and again it's a relatively normal weekend and the top 5 drivers score all of the points, I will be in a very bad position as well. Regarding the teams, obviously we're keeping Red Bull. If I use limitless, there is a possibility to go for McLaren instead of Ferrari, because especially in the hands of Lando, the McLaren seems very, very strong. However, I think it's way too risky, exactly because what if Lando has an accident or something, starting from 9th and being too aggressive, and then even if Lando does amazingly in the race, I don't think he will do way more than Leclerc, for example, to be worth doing that, going for McLaren. And then it depends on Piastri, and I'm not convinced this season that Piastri is going to get the maximum out of the car. So probably staying with Ferrari either way is the way to go. I can't switch to McLaren anyway if I don't use limitless. So I'm talking only about limitless. If I use limitless, I still think I should stick with Ferrari because they seem to be more consistent. They will probably get the points. McLaren seems like a risk that they may be, even Lando in the regular qualifying, in the regular race, he might even be close to fighting for the win. But at the same time, he may have issues, mistakes, problems, crashes or whatever that and Piastri doesn't fill me with confidence. So I think I will stick with Red Bull and Ferrari as far as constructors go. Other chips, maybe you can use a no negative one. Maybe you can use something else, but the 3-time score again is not worth using it now. Pretty much for the same reason that I said in China, because in order to use this effectively, I will have to have a good second driver to give them the 2 times, because I can't give 3 times and 2 times score to Verstappen. I have to switch the 2-time score to somebody else, and nobody else right now is a good idea to go for the 2 times score. So using the 3 times chip is not a good idea here. Maybe in one of the sprint weekends that are close to the finish of the season, to the end of the season, in order for me to have the budget or to do some adjustments to go for a second good driver. Right now I don't have that, and I don't want to go for it. So there's that. So the question is, do I go limitless or do I stay exactly like this again? And I think I will have to go limitless and hope that the best drivers perform well, and the total is comparable to the total that the guys that used limitless in China got, and that's probably it. I don't really think there's any other good option for this weekend. Yeah, so I'll probably go limitless. You will find out when we do the review of this race in the next episode. Until then, I hope you liked this video. You can comment if you are playing the F1 Fantasy game, how is it going, and what do you think is the best strategy for here if you haven't used the limitless as I as me. I haven't used it yet. And that's it. You can like and subscribe. It obviously helps a lot. And we will talk again after the race when I will do my driver ratings. Until then, take care and see ya. Enjoy the race.